So the thing that I've been spending a lot of time trying to learn to do is this idea of getting these ideas together. Earlier, you saw me talking about this thing here, and I wanted to bring this up because this sort of thing is diametrically opposed to how your brain wants to visualize things. It doesn't visualize things as a series of collected ideas, it sees things as whole subjects. Which is why I spend a lot more time when I draw things. I try to focus on a whole subject, or at least if the subject exists, I try to find a natural endpoint. So if I'm going to cut something, I'm going to cut something at their wrist, give it a natural endpoint, or at least get the hands in there and cut it at the belt, just so that my brain has an ability to kind of be like, I can kind of see what that is without having to draw the whole thing. If I'm going to draw a head, do the neck and then do the collar and then at least have the collar. I used to just, stop at the head or the neck, but I think it's important to have natural endpoints to your drawings where your brain can relax, can conceptualize and visualize this, and know that it can forget the rest. It doesn't have to worry about anything else. As you guys know, there's blind contouring. And what blind contouring does is this idea of, you look at an object. So I'm just going to look at an object here. And then you just draw what you see without looking. Okay, so I was drawing a soda thing on my counter. Okay. I think there's a lot of, classes and people talk about doing this as a way to help your hand-eye coordination. But there's a lot more to this. There's a lot of benefits to this that I find to be helpful. I actually think blind silhouetting is the entry point to improving your aphantasia. One is that it helps you understand literally how many lines you need, how long it will take to draw something, like the draw distance, like how much yardage of line is needed to draw something, so that you can get like a good concept in your mind, like when I draw this, it should take this long. I think people kind of lose perspective, or their time, the time spent to draw gets dilated, gets thrown out of whack because they're in a constant correction phase. Because when you're looking at something, when you're looking at your drawing while you're drawing, you're also reviewing and correcting what you see. So there's the benefit of that. But there are a few other things that I've come to realize. One of them is when you're drawing with your eyes open, when you're looking at what you're drawing, you'll always favor the way you want to draw the most. You'll never kind of come in contact with the way your hand is not good at drawing things. So if you're intimate with how your arm works and your dexterity, you'll probably know, like, oh, like when I draw an eye this way, it's fine, but when I draw the other way, I have I feel stiff in that point, and sometimes they'll rotate your canvas. People do that stuff, which is fine, totally fine if you're doing like hatching and you don't want to I know I can hatch this way or this way, but I'm better if I always go the same direction, so that's why I rotate my canvas. Blind silhouetting really helps you come to terms and confront certain angles you might not be dealing with, and just forces you to get used to becoming more aware and more willing to confront and exercise angles you're not used to doing. A third major thing that it helps is to de-stress and remove the anxiety of illustrating by removing their constantly judging eyes of you're constantly judging eyes from the process. Believe it or not, whenever I feel really bottled up about inking, I feel like I'm overthinking inking, or when I'm overthinking sketching, I honestly, and I'll just close my eyes and I'll just try to draw the line. It might not be perfect, but what I find is that the line that isn't perfect is more than fine when I open my eyes, because the problem is that I have such a high expectation and judgment that I take a simple task of drawing a very simple line and I make every single one of those lines way too much work when they're fine as is or they're more than passable. So when I feel myself like balling up, what I'll do is I'm literally closing my eyes and I'm trying to visualize what I have in my head. Maybe this is a hairy shoulder pad, okay? And I'll open my eyes and be like, yeah, that's more than fine, or that's fine enough for me to build off of. Or I'll do the same with inking when there's like I'm overworking a thing and I'm constantly redoing something, and if I pull myself out of the equation, if I pull my own judgment out of the equation, the the feeling I have inside, the motor mechanisms that I've built up in my mind, and I allow myself to trust sense of my visualization, my sense of creativity more, and it's less about being hyper vigilant and hyper hard on myself the whole way through. And that helps me kind of unblock mental stresses. And that's a sort of thing you can only start to achieve and learn to earn with blind contouring. Blind contouring has really helped me learn to figure out like the pathing I should take on an image. If I want to draw a face and not blow a bunch of time, blind contouring will slowly just earn you that ability, because it just becomes very natural and logical process as you blind contour. Because when you do it, when you're drawing if you're doing a blind contour of a person, you don't start here and go all the way down here, because then you're going to get so many crisscrossing lines that the image won't read. So you kind of slowly learn over time how to effectively go across your image in the most consistent way possible. And as you saw, in this drawing, you didn't see me go here and then draw the eye, draw this nose. You kind of just saw me peck away at the outside components and then build myself in. It's almost like a spiral. The other way is to just do the silhouette and then find the component. This was the other way, where you build a silhouette blind, and then you open up your eyes, or you place your pen again, and then you build the next component. Those are two ways you can approach the blind contouring as far as speed. But generally speaking, these are some of the benefits of blind contouring. There's probably more. I find that learning to work this way helps you kind of if you have to do storyboards, you have to do if you're having a hard time putting a character in place, but you don't want to blow all this time building a doll, I find that if I just look at a drawing and then just kind of trace what I see, I can kind of get most of the pieces in place, and then it's just a nice, free, low anxiety way of getting something on the page. Okay, so the next step is, once you've got kind of a handle on your blind contouring, you need to do the next step, which is blind contouring with your eyes closed. So you basically look at something and then try to draw it with your eyes closed. Or you try to learn how to draw all of it with your eyes closed. One of the ones I did was a gun. I might still be able to draw that gun. I'm going to try to draw. Yeah, so this was one of the first blind. So I did that with my eyes closed, just if you want to know. I'm missing a few parts. There's this part here. I learned how to draw that part. This is, I think, one of the first things I learned to draw with my eyes closed, and I can kind of and this is what taught me this idea that that is totally possible, because this has been encoded in my brain in a way that's kind of almost irrefutable. When I close my eyes, I can literally see all the components. I learned this so I learned this so as I learned all the components as close as possible. Sorry, I'm still eyes closed here. This is probably kind of whack. I learned all these components in a way where I like my when I close my eyes, I'm literally just tracing. I'm tracing all the pieces. Now I can't. The gun isn't really clear. It's not very clean, but I've built such a strong roadmap to this one illustration that I've learned to draw with my eyes closed, that the ability to know where all those components are helps kind of lock the image in place, and now I can kind of like see that image because I know where all the landmarks are. So I know you'd be like, well, what's the use of drawing a gun that's kind of wonky? And then the reality is that because I can draw this, I just kind of know what a gun always looks like now. Um, and I don't actually think I could draw this gun as fast with my eyes open that I can with the eyes closed because it's such an innate concept now to me. I know exactly how to go across the whole shape in the most effective way possible. And because of this, I actually kind of just know how a gun should look, where the receiver is, where all these pieces are, because I've learned this one and I know the thing goes here. I learned where all these lines are. You know what I mean? Like because I've internalized this kind of like silhouette shape. I can now kind of build this from any angle because I've learned it that from that one angle. I know where kind of most of these pieces go. I know, where this bottom part goes. I can probably rotate this pretty effectively. So this is step two. And this step two is pretty massive. And I've collected a bunch of techniques and methods to learn how to do this.